Welcome. At Continuing Educations, we would like to start the Sexual Harassment Prevention Training with a welcome and thank you for taking the time to listen to the following pertinent information regarding sexual harassment in the workplace. We encourage you, as you listen, to take notes and reflect on your own place of work, as well as reflect on employees, non-employees, and customers or clients that you come in contact with through work. We also understand that the following information may be sensitive information or contact to many. Please take the moments listed in the presentation to write down any contacts or information that will be useful for you. For this portion of the sexual harassment prevention training, you will be completing a self-evaluation. Right now, we encourage you to take out a pen and a piece of paper and write down whether you think the answer is true and false for the following 15 questions. Under the Illinois Human Rights Act, all workers have the right to employment free of sexual harassment or unlawful discrimination. The working environment is always limited to one location. Making comments about a person's body, clothing, or looks may constitute as sexual harassment. It is not important to be aware of the content you are posting to social media or sending over social media, as it will not impact your job. Nearly half of teens have experienced harassment online. Cyberbullying in Illinois is considered a Class 4 felony. The EEOC assumes reports of sexual harassment each year are undercounted due to some never formally filed as a complaint. A bystander is someone directly involved in the harmful situation. Boundaries are essential. There are multiple options for how you can report sexual harassment. Employers that receive a report should not take immediate corrective action. In a sexual harassment investigation, only one witness should be interviewed. In the workplace, there should be a sexual harassment policy put into place. There are two types of sexual harassment. Welcome behavior can quickly cross the line into unwelcomed behavior. Welcome to the Continuing Education's Sexual Harassment Prevention Training. Sexual harassment is a civil rights violation in Illinois. The Illinois Human Rights Act was signed into law in 1979. It consists of two separate administrative agencies, department and commission. There are distinct functions regarding the enforcement of the Act. Under the Act, all workers have the right to employment free of sexual harassment or unlawful discrimination. The Illinois General Assembly has found that tolerance of sexual harassment leads to a hostile work environment for employees, reduces productivity, and increases legal liability. The state of Illinois encourages employers to put in place policies to ensure their workplaces allow for employees to safely report issues. What is sexual harassment? The Illinois Human Rights Act defines sexual harassment as Any unwelcome sexual advances, requests for sexual favors, or any conduct of a sexual nature. It is important to understand the differences between what sexual harassment is and how it can be perceived. Types of sexual harassment. According to the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission, EEOC, there are two types of sexual harassment. Number one, hostile work environment. Happens when a victim's coworker or supervisor makes comments or sexual advances that make the work environment offensive and hostile in nature. Number two, quid pro quo. Happens in situations in which an employee's ability to be hired or promoted within his or her job is based on whether or not the employee accepts or rejects sexual advances or other inappropriate sexual conduct. Unsolicited behavior. Behavior can become unwelcomed if the victim did not solicit it or invite it. Welcome behavior can quickly cross the line into unwelcome behavior. Consent may be revoked at any time. No means no. If someone says stop, the behavior must end immediately. Unsolicited behavior. Sexual harassment is not limited to just the intended target. The effects of it can spread throughout the workplace. Perceptions of individuals can be altered if sexual harassment has occurred. This can lead to conflict within the team and lead to employee turnover. Be sure to reach out privately to the individual you feel has experienced unwanted behavior. Your observation might be different from what is really happening. If your observation is correct, show support. If incorrect, acknowledge your perception was wrong. Many working environments. Nowadays, working environments are not just limited to one location. Working environments include mobile salons, home salons, salons in hospitals, nursing homes, to name a few. Sexual harassment laws apply no matter where you are physically working. Daily, you will encounter many people, including those who are non-employees, delivery service providers, vendors, consultants, contractors, and more. Gender identity, sexual orientation, and third parties, bystanders. All people can be victims of sexual harassment, regardless of the victim's gender identity or the perpetrator's gender identity. All people can be victims of sexual harassment, regardless of the victim's sexual orientation or the perpetrator's sexual orientation. Victims of sexual harassment can include not only the target of the sexual harassment, but also third parties or bystanders. Examples of inappropriate conduct. Sexual harassment includes unwelcome conduct of a sexual nature, sexual advances, and requests for sexual favors. Examples include pressure for sexual favors or to go out on a date, deliberate touching, leaning over, brushing up against, or cornering another person, sexual looks or gestures, or whistling at someone. Sending letters, telephone calls, emails, texts, or other materials of a sexual nature. Sexual teasing, jokes, remarks, or questions. Referring to another as hunk, doll, babe, honey, tootsie, etc. Actual or attempted rape or sexual assault. More examples of conduct that may constitute sexual harassment include turning work discussions to sexual topics, asking about sexual fantasies, preferences, or history, sexual comments, sexual innuendos, or sexual stories, sexual comments about a person's clothing, body, or looks, kissing sounds, howling and smacking lips, telling lies or spreading rumors about a person's sex life, massaging neck, shoulders, etc., touching another employee, such as their clothing, hair, or body. Online sexual harassment. Sexual harassment can happen off the clock, off site, or even out of state through social media. This can include using emails, texts, internet postings, blogs, comments, and social media such as Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, YouTube, etc. Any sent communication of a sexual nature through social media can be sexual harassment. Requests can include flirting, demands to go on a date, or sexual favors, pictures or videos of graphic material, sexual or offensive language, or even cyber stalking. Social media is used by employers for hiring purposes. It is important that you are aware of the content you share and what is shared about you online. Keep in mind that if you are posting provocative photos or having a public profile, potential employers may see this. Review your settings on social media to decide who your audience will be. Personal information should never be shared online. It is important to protect your identity and with whom you share your personal contact information with to avoid any sexual harassment in your online environment. Online sexual harassment, cyber stalking. Pew Research Center shows that nearly half of teens have experienced harassment online. People who hide under anonymous names or throw away accounts online can easily target victims to harass. It is important to maintain a level of privacy that protects you best. Cyberstalking is a serious crime that can affect the victim's mental state and stress levels. Cyberstalking is a Class 4 felony in Illinois. If found guilty, the accused can spend 1 to 3 years in prison, be fined $25,000, or both. Cyberstalking, how to prevent. Don't overshare. Keep your software updated. Mask your IP address. Maintain social media hygiene. Don't leave data around. Reporting sexual harassment. The Equal Employment Opportunity Commission, EEOC, receives approximately 12,000 complaints of sexual harassment every year. The EEOC assumes that complaints are severely undercounted because they estimate 87 to 94% of incidents are never formally filed as a complaint. 3 main reasons why victims don't report sexual harassment. Number 1, fear of retaliation. Number 2, the bystander effect. Number 3, masculine culture. Number 1, fear of retaliation. Retaliation occurs when an employer punishes an employee for reporting sexual harassment or otherwise asserting the right to a discrimination-free workplace. Employer retaliation includes demoting, firing, exclusion from workplace activities, sabotage, unjustly chastising, scrutinizing, or verbally abusing an employee who has reported harassment or intends to report harassment to the EEOC. Number 2, the bystander effect. This term means that a nearby individual may feel no responsibility to take any action when they see an injustice being perpetrated. A bystander is a person who is present when an event takes place but isn't directly involved. An active bystander is someone who interrupts a potentially harmful situation, especially when it comes to sexual violence. They may not be directly involved, but they do have the choice and opportunity to speak and intervene. Number 3, masculine culture. Stresses different expectations for men and women. In a masculine culture, men are expected to be assertive, competitive, and focused on material success. Women are expected to be nurturing and focus on people and quality of life. Confused? Let's take a look at what sexual harassment looks like in the beauty and wellness industry. Whether you are a cosmetologist, esthetician, or nail tech, you work in one of the few non-sexual professions that have to touch clients. In our industry, people come to us in order to look and feel their very best. In this industry, it requires physical contact with clients, and there's a certain amount of personal relationship that develops between customers. It can be tricky determining when a client has crossed the line. It's that intimate connection, both emotional and physical, that may encourage certain behavior between the person in the chair and the one tousling their hair or massaging their shoulders. As we know, we can serve as therapists as well. So a client may feel as though they can cross boundaries perhaps more easily. Oversharing about sex life, loitering after appointment, making sexual comments, touching, tone of voice, suggestive behavior, clients staring at your body, flirting. All above are examples of inappropriate behavior which may lead to you feeling uneasy. If at any time you feel that your client or coworker has crossed the line, it is then that you need to speak up. No means no. Practice a zero tolerance policy towards workplace harassment and strive to create a safe workplace for all. Boundaries are essential in your profession for serenity and success. There is a fine line between taking care of the client and taking care of yourself. Being equipped with the knowledge and tools to handle these situations is imperative. Educate yourself and know your options. Moving forward, we review next steps if you feel you have been sexually harassed. Options for reporting sexual harassment. Sexual harassment is a personal one. The choice of how to report an allegation includes these options, are not mutually exclusive. You may pursue one or more of the following reporting options. Number 1, call the State of Illinois Sexual Harassment and Discrimination Helpline. Number 2, report the incident to your employer. Number 3, file a charge with the Illinois Department of Human Rights, IDHR. Number 4, file a charge with the U.S. Equal Employment Opportunity Commission, EEOC. Sexual harassment reporting to Illinois. If you or someone you know has experienced or witnessed unwelcome conduct of a sexual nature in the workplace, please call the State of Illinois Sexual Harassment and Discrimination Helpline for assistance. Calls are confidential and can be made anonymously. Call the helpline 1-888-236-7703, Monday through Friday, 8:30 a.m. to 5 p.m. Visit www.illinois.gov/sexual harassment. Helpline representatives can help callers navigate their numerous reporting options and share additional information related to counseling, legal assistance, and frequently asked questions. Sexual harassment, reporting to employer. What to do next? Speak up. Report the incident to one or more employer representatives. Supervisor. This may include any member of management you trust. Human resources. If complaint is naming a supervisor as the perpetrator. Designated sexual harassment officer. Designated person to receive and investigate claims. Sexual harassment reporting to IDHR. If your employer fails to address your sexual harassment complaint, there are other options. The Illinois Department of Human Rights, IDHR, is responsible for enforcing the Illinois Human Rights Act, the state law that makes it illegal to engage in sexual harassment or retaliation. Victims may submit a complainant information sheet to IDHR to begin the process. Victims may file a charge within 300 days of the incident. Any employer who has one or more employees can be investigated by the IDHR. To file a charge, call IDHR or visit them online. 1-800-662-3942 or www.illinois.gov/DHR. Please take a moment to look at the IDHR office locations below. What's next? Once IDHR has completed their investigation and substantial evidence of a violation has been found, the employee has two options. Number one, a lawsuit can be filed in a civil court. Number two, a complaint can be filed with the Illinois Human Rights Commission. An order awarding remedies to the victim may be given by the court or Human Rights Commission in effort to make the complaint whole. Back pay, damages, reinstating, promotion, clearing of a personnel file may all be possible. Attorney fees and costs can also be covered. Reporting sexual harassment to the US EEOC. The United States Equal Employment Opportunity Commission, EEOC, is responsible for enforcing Title VII of the Civil Rights Act of 1964, the federal law that makes it illegal to engage in sexual harassment or retaliation. The EEOC has jurisdiction, authority, to investigate employers who have 15 or more employees. To start the process, call the EEOC or visit their website. Victims of sexual harassment may file a charge at any time within 300 days of the incident or incidents. To file a charge, call or visit online. Please take a moment to look at the numbers and the offices. After EEOC completes its investigation, the complainant, the employee, may file a lawsuit in federal court. The EEOC may help parties reach a settlement through an informal process called conciliation of the EEOC finds reasonable cause to believe discrimination occurred. Complainants who prevail in federal court may receive an order awarding remedies allowed by Title VII to make the employee whole. Remedies may include back pay, lost benefits, clearing of a personnel file, damages, hiring, promotion, reinstatement, front pay where reinstatement is not possible, punitive damages, and attorney fees. Title VII refers to the Civil Rights Act of 1964. Sexual harassment and my employer. What are they responsible for? Manager/supervisor harassment. Employers are strictly liable for sexual harassment committed by its members of management, regardless of whether the employer knew of the harassment. Coworker and non-employee harassment. Employers are liable for sexual harassment perpetrated by an employee, coworker, or non-employees, vendors, only if the employer knew or reasonably should have known of the harassment and failed to take immediate corrective action. Responsibilities of my employer: prevent, investigate, correct. Prevention: develop, implement, and regularly communicate the employer's sexual harassment policy. Provide training for managers and employees on sexual harassment prevention. Provide clear communication on how to report incidents of sexual harassment. Managers and supervisors should monitor their work environment to ensure the workplace is free of sexual harassment. Managers and supervisors must lead by example and model appropriate conduct. Refrain from engaging in conduct of a sexual nature. Managers and supervisors should conduct a sexual harassment check throughout the year, discuss at staff meetings, incorporate into a monthly email, keep the communication open. Investigation: immediately respond to a complaint of sexual harassment and initiate an inquiry or investigation. Interview the complainant, victim, and take reasonable action to protect the victim from retaliation or experiencing further sexual harassment during the investigation. Interview all relevant witnesses. Interview the alleged perpetrator of the sexual harassment. Document the investigation results and maintain the file as an employment record. Take corrective action as appropriate. Correct: take appropriate disciplinary action, including possibility of termination if workplace policy has been violated. Consider counseling, training, and closer supervision of the accused employee, even if said behavior did not prove to be sexual harassment. Take reasonable action within the organization to reduce the likelihood of future sexual harassment incidents by updating policies and communicating them to the workforce. Providing supplemental or tailored sexual harassment training, or restructuring the working environment or reporting relationships. Regularly follow up with the victim to ensure they are and the workplace is free of sexual harassment. Finally, for those of you that are salon or spa owners, be sure that you have a sexual harassment policy in effect. If you don't have a policy yet, you might start one off with stating its purpose. Purpose example: employer has a strict zero tolerance policy against all forms of sexual harassment. This policy was created as part of our commitment to a safer and more supportive workplace to prevent and reduce sexual harassment. Anyone can be a victim of sexual harassment, regardless of their gender, gender identity, sexual orientation, race, age, or other factors. It can occur inside or outside the workplace, between supervisors and their staff, coworkers, customers, and others. Therefore, employer will take every measure within its power to prevent and address acts of sexual harassment. Continue on with stating the goals of the policy. Example: the goals of this policy are to: number 1, provide notice to all employees that sexual harassment will not be tolerated and that violators will be held accountable. Number 2, create and enforce policies and procedures to assist employees who are impacted by sexual harassment, including providing training on this policy for employees and management. Number 3, support a thorough workplace education and training program to prevent sexual harassment and promote a safe workplace for all employees. Number 4, provide immediate assistance and support to victims of sexual harassment, such as information and referrals to community resources to help ensure safety and support for victims and fellow employees. Next, you should include the definition of sexual harassment. If you are unsure of proper verbiage, look into the internet to get a satisfactory definition. Include examples of sexual harassment. A few that you may want to include: sexual comments, elevator eyes, blocking an individual's path, touching. Conclude with who is covered under the policy and steps to take when reporting sexual harassment. Employees should read policy, ask any questions they may have, and sign the document. Moving on. Moving on after being sexually harassed at work can be hard. You may feel stuck or hopeless about your situation, but with a little work and some outside counseling, you should be able to make sense of your experience, heal from it, and move on. It is true. Under the Illinois Human Rights Act, all workers do have the right to employment free of sexual harassment or unlawful discrimination. False. The working environment is not always limited to one location. Working environment can be in multiple different locations or work environments for a specific company or a specific employee. True. Making comments about a person's body, clothing, or looks may constitute as sexual harassment. False. It is important to be aware of the content you are posting to social media and the things that you are sending over social media, as it very well may impact your job. True. It is considered a Class 4 felony in Illinois if found to be cyberbullying. True. Many are not reported or formally filed as a complaint in reference to sexual harassment, so the EEOC believes that the count is undercounted. False. A bystander is not someone directly involved in the harmful situation in all cases. A bystander can be someone who is indirectly involved in the situation. There are multiple options for how you can report sexual harassment. As referred to earlier in the presentation, there are 4 different ways. False. Employers that receive a sexual harassment report should take immediate corrective action. False. In a sexual harassment investigation, any and all witnesses should be interviewed if possible. True. In the workplace, there should be a sexual harassment policy put into place and discussed and communicated. True. There are 2 different types of sexual harassment. True. Welcome behavior can quickly cross the line into unwelcome behavior. We want to end this presentation by saying thank you. Thank you for listening to the Sexual Harassment Prevention Training presentation through Continuing Education, Inc. We want to stress the importance of this material and encourage you to reflect on your own workplace in regards to this topic. We know that this can be a heavy topic, and we appreciate your willingness and understanding and taking in this highly important information today. Do not hesitate to reach out to the various contacts listed throughout the presentation, whether that is a phone number or directly contacting the office. If sexual harassment has occurred or occurs in the future, we encourage you to use what you learned in this presentation and move forward in the best way possible in the future. Thank you again for coming to the Sexual Harassment Prevention Training.